Hello friends, welcome to a new video. In this video, I'm going to talk about what is bond price, and what is bond yield. My name is Mohammed Yunus, and let us begin with the video. If you like the content that I'm creating for UPSC and other competitive exams, then please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and let us start with the video. Before understanding what is bond price and what is bond yield, we must understand what is a bond, right? Basically, let me help you understand this by giving you an example. Okay. For example, let's say person A has a company. It is manufacturing something, right? Now, person A wants to expand his company. What do you need for expansion? You need money, right? Now, how to get this money? Person A has basically three options. One, he can dilute his ownership, right? For example, if he is currently 100% owner of the company, then he can give 50% of his company to person B and take money and expand his company. This type of financing or this type of taking money is called as equity financing. What is the meaning of equity? Equity means partnership. Second mode is taking a loan from a bank, right? You can go to a bank and give something as collateral and get the money and expand your business. Fine. But there is one more method through which government of India and private sector and state governments finance their money requirements. Governments need money every year to finance fiscal deficit. Similarly, private sector needs money for increasing production as well as investments in capital, right? Now, third method is by issuing bonds. Now, what is the most basic definition of a bond? Bond is basically a debt instrument. It is a kind of security, right? For example, the person A who is thinking of expanding his business will issue a bond in the market saying that give me this much money, I will give you this much interest, and after a period, I will return your money back, right? So, this is the basic definition of a bond. Now, let us understand what are the basic components of a bond. Let's say this is a bond issued by Government of India, right? Government of India has fiscal deficit. To fill this fiscal deficit, government requires money, right? And where does government take money from? Government asks RBI to issue bonds. And who will purchase these bonds? People, right? People and banks and other financial institutions purchase these bonds from government and they issue money to the government. In return, government issues this bond which has certain promises. Now, what are the components of a bond? First of all, face value. Now, what is the face value? Face value means what is the total amount that government is borrowing, right? And that is called as face value. Fine. In this example, 100 rupees is the face value, meaning government is saying, I will give you this bond, give me 100 rupees, right? That is the meaning of face value. Second is coupon rate. Coupon rate basically means rate of interest only, right? But here it is called as coupon rate. Now, what is the coupon rate on this bond? 10%. Now, government is saying, give me 100 rupees. Every year, I'll give you 10% interest or coupon rate. So, government will give you 10 rupees every year. For how many years? And that is called as maturity date or duration of the bond. So, on this bond, government is saying, give me 100 rupees. I will give you 10% interest per annum for 10 years. And after the completion of 10 years, you will return this bond to the government and government will give your 100 rupees back. So this is how bonds work. Now, after understanding this, let us understand how the bonds are issued in the market. Okay. If you have read financial markets or stock market, then you know that there are two types of markets. One is primary market, second is secondary market. Primary market is the market where the bond is issued for the first time, right? Whenever the government issues the bond, here government means obviously RBI, right? So whenever the government issues the bond for the first time in the market, it happens in primary market. And people who will buy the bond in primary market buy it at face value, right? Basically, they give the government the face value and government will give bond in return for the face value. So this is how bonds are sold in the primary market. Let's say person A bought this bond issued by government of India. But person A needs money, right? Let's say he has held this bond for 2 years, right? But he needs money right away. He cannot hold this for further 8 years for him to receive his face value back. This is just 100 rupees, right? But bonds are of much greater value. So in that case, what person A can do? Person A can sell that bond in secondary market and get his money by selling the bond to some other person, let's say some person B. He cannot return the bond to the government till 10 years, but he can sell it in secondary market so to some other person, let's say person B. So as I told you, in primary market, bonds are sold by the government or private sector at face value, right? But in secondary market, the situation is completely different. Here the bonds are bought and sold not at face value, but at some other price. And what that price will be is determined by the demand for these bonds in the secondary market. How that demand is determined, I will tell you in the future part of this video. But in secondary market, bonds are bought and sold not at face value, but at a different price. And that price is called as bond price. So this is the basic difference between face value and bond price. Face value is the value of the bond which is issued in the primary market by the issuer to the lender. Who is a lender here? The person who is giving the money to the government or the private sector in return for this bond, right? That is face value. But when the person who has bought this bond in primary market from the issuer will sell this in the secondary market before the maturity date, and that buying and selling will not happen at face value but at a different price, and what price that will be is determined by the demand for this bond, and that price is called as bond price. I hope you understood this. Now, as I told you, let us understand what are the factors which determine the demand for this bond in the secondary market. The most important factor which determines the demand for a bond is market rate of interest. This is the most important factor. If you read any current affairs document, you will come across this term, but those documents fail to explain what is the meaning of market rate of interest. Because many aspirants get confused between coupon rate and market rate of interest. Both are different. Coupon rate is something which is promised on the bond. For example, in the first section of this video, I told you that a government bond for face value of 100 was issued at 10% coupon rate for 10 years period, right? So this is coupon rate. Then what is market rate of interest? To put it simply, it is the rate on your deposits. When you go to a bank to put your money in fixed deposit, you will earn certain rate of interest, right? For example, let's say 7%. So this rate of interest is called as market rate of interest. This is the basic and simplest definition I'm giving you. So this is the difference between coupon rate and market rate of interest. Bond price depends on market rate of interest. So this is the most important factor which determines demand for bond. And this demand for bond determines the bond price. Don't worry if you are getting confused here. I will explain this relationship between bond price and market rate of interest in the future part of the video. You are in the market for profit, right? So wherever there is more profit, for example, let's say real estate is booming. What happens? More and more people start investing in real estate, right? Why? Because they want to reap the profit which is available in real estate sector. What happens when more and more people go to the real estate sector? Demand increases, right? Earlier, profit was very high, right? But more and more people are going towards real estate, so demand is increasing. So when demand increases based on law of supply and demand, price increases, right? As price increases, overall profit keeps coming down, right? This is the basic principle on which the market operates, right? And that is how bond prices and market rate of interest are connected, right? Now let us understand how that works. Now, as I told you, bond price is the price at which bonds are bought and sold in the secondary market, right? In the primary market, they are bought and sold at face value because it is the first issue which is happening. But in secondary market, the face value changes because of the demand for bonds, right? Now let us understand how that works. The most important factor, as I told you, which determines the bond price in the secondary market is market rate of interest. And market rate of interest simply means the rate that you get on your deposits, right? Now let us, for the sake of understanding, let's say government has issued this bond in the primary market. Fine. And person A has bought this bond in the primary market. It is saying that the face value is 100, right? Coupon rate is 5%, meaning anyone who holds this bond will receive 5% from the government or 5 rupees from the government on 100 rupees every year till 10 years, right? And the maturity is after 10 years. Now, person A wants money immediately and person A would like to sell this in secondary market, right? This is the first part of the example. Now, let us assume that when the person A is selling it in the secondary market, at that time, the market rate of interest is 10%. Okay. Now, let us say there is this person B. He is interested in investing money in the market. Now, tell me, where does person B will invest his money? Whether he will buy the bond from person A, which is promising him 5% return, or he will invest in market rate of interest, that is deposit, because deposit is giving him 10% return, right? Let's say he has 100 rupees. Obviously, common sense dictates that he will invest it in deposits. Why? Because deposit will give him 10 rupees at the end of the year and bond will give him only 5 rupees at the end of the year. If this person B, is still willing to invest it in bond, he will not buy the bond at rupees 100. Why? Because if he buys the bond at rupees 100 from person A, then he will earn only 5%. He will tell person A, look man, if I buy it at 100 rupees, I will earn only 5%. If I deposit my money in bank, then I will get 10%. So he will ask person A to sell the bond at lower price. Why? So that his overall return is more than 5%. How does that happen? Let's say person B says to person A to sell the bond at 80 rupees. What is the face value? 100 rupees. But person B is asking person A to sell it at what price? 80 rupees. Why person B is asking A to sell it at 80 rupees? Because he wants his return to be more than 5%. Why he wants his return to be more than 5%? Because market rate of interest is very high. So he wants his return on bond to be very high. Now what is happening here? Market rate of interest is high, so bond price is falling because overall return must be high. Getting the point? Are you understanding the relationship between market rate of interest and bond price? Whenever the market rate of interest is high, bond price falls because the person who is investing it in bond wants higher returns. Now, if the person A sells the bond to person B, he will sell it to person B at 80 rupees. What will be the return of person B? See, government at the end of the year will give person B, because now person B is holding the bond, right? Will give 5 rupees only, because government when issuing the bond has promised 5% rate, coupon rate. So government will give person B 5 rupees only. But what will be the return of person B? He is not buying the bond at 100 rupees. He is buying it at 80 rupees. So he will receive 5 rupees from the government, but he is getting that 5 rupees on the investment of 80 rupees, right? So when you calculate the return percentage, you divide 5, that is the return, with the investment and calculate the percentage, it will be 6.25%. So person A's return on the investment of 100 was 5%, but person B is getting same 5 rupees from the government, but he is getting at 80 rupees investment, so his return will be 6.25%. So this 6.25% return that person B is earning on this bond is called as yield. You're getting the point? And this is the difference between yield and coupon rate that I will discuss in the next part of the video. So what you need to focus in this part is this much. Whenever the market rate of interest is high or whenever the deposit rate is high, as I told you in the previous section, market rate of interest determines the bond price, right? So whenever the market rate of interest is high, that is the rate on deposit is high, bond price will fall, as it happened here. From 100 it fell to 80. But still this 6.25% is not equal to the deposit rate of 10%. So bond price will keep falling till this rate comes close to 10%. So one relationship that we can draw from this section of the video is this. Whenever the market rate of interest, that is the rate on the deposits, is high, bond prices will be low. So this relationship you need to remember. Market rate of interest is inversely proportional to bond price. Whenever market rate of interest is high, bond price will fall. Why? Because people at the end of the day wants profit. And this is the profit they are earning because their overall investment is coming down and government is giving them 5 rupees and the percentage of their return is increasing. And this is the difference between bond price and face value. Face value is the value that you pay when buying the bond for the first time in primary market. And bond price is the price that you pay to buy the bond in the secondary market, and it depends on market rate of interest. So bond price depends on market rate of interest. Got this? Basically, coupon rate is the rate promised by the issuer of the bond in the primary market. For example, the person A who bought this bond in the primary market was promised by Government of India 5% return on his investment of 100 rupees every year, right? But when this person A sold this bond in the secondary market to person B bought this bond not at 100 rupees but 80 rupees. This is bond price. So as the bond price changes, return changes, right? Because government will give 5 rupees only to the holder of the bond, but that 5 rupees will be based on the investment. So person B's investment is 80 rupees. So his actual return is 6.25%. So actual return is called as yield. So this is the difference between coupon rate and yield. So whenever you hear the term yield with respect to bonds, it means this actual return. And actual return is dependent on what? Actual return is dependent on the overall investment or the bond price. Now, what relationship are you observing between market rate of interest and yield? See, market rate of interest is higher than coupon rate, right? What is happening to yield? Yield is also increasing. So can we say that market rate of interest is directly proportional to yield, right? As market rate of interest increases, yield also increases. Why? Because higher market rate of interest pushes the investors to demand lower price on the bond so that their overall return matches with the rate of interest that is offered on the deposits. So that is why these are directly proportional. Understand this very carefully. And what is the relationship between market rate of interest and bond price? As I told you, market rate of interest is inversely proportional to bond price. So basically, when we understand bond price, market rate of interest, and yield, there are three important relationships that you need to remember. Because if you remember those three relationships, then the whole concept is very clear to you. Let us understand what are those three relationships. Two, I have already told you, one more is remaining. Let me repeat the first two and then I will tell you the third also. First, as I told you, rate of interest, that is market rate of interest, is inversely proportional to bond price, right? In the previous section, I told you when market rate of interest was 10%, bond price fell from 100 to 80 to 70. Now, the second relationship, as I discussed, is bond yield is directly proportional to market rate of interest, right? Market rate of interest was 10%. Bond yield increased from 5% coupon rate to 6.25%. Now, third relationship is also very simple to understand. Bond price is inversely proportional to bond yield. Obviously, as bond price fell, right? Bond price was falling from 100 to 80 to 70. And what was happening to bond yield? At 100, it was 5%, which was the coupon rate. At 80, it was 6.25%. At 70, it was 7.14%, right? So as bond price was falling, obviously the return will be increasing, right? So that is why they are inversely proportional. As bond price falls, return increases, that is yield increases. As bond price rise, yield decreases. So these are the three most important relationships. If you have not understood them, then please revise the video again. You will understand the concept. And then remember only these three relationships. That's all. If you remember them, then the concept of bond price, bond yield is very simple to understand. And once you understand these concepts, then the concept of normal yield curve, right, and inverse yield curve is also very easy to understand. That is what I'm going to explain in the next video, right? And if you understand what is normal yield curve and inverse yield curve, then it is extremely easy for you to understand what is operation twist. This is a very important concept, and this was undertaken by RBI during COVID. And what is operation twist? The concept depends on understanding what is normal yield curve and inverse yield curve. And this concept is dependent on understanding these three relationships. I hope I made the concept simpler and clearer for you to understand. If you have any doubts, then please put them in comment section. Or if you want to clarify any more doubts related to UPSC, then there is a Telegram group I have created wherein many aspirants are there and they are asking doubts. You can also join that Telegram group. I will clarify your doubts. There, I will also be posting some important notes and MCQs with respect to Prelims 2024. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please watch it, share it, subscribe to my channel, and till next time, study well and take care.